Alright guys, so as you can see we're here for AOR Season 15, round number 7 I believe it is. I might be wrong about that, but this is the Hungarian Grand Prix at a track which I do enjoy quite a bit, but once again not really getting the amount of practice that I would have liked to, because once again revising for exams obviously will take the priority, so I didn't get as much time as I would have hoped. I only got about an hour to an hour and a half's max practice, which I only started about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on the Sunday, so not really getting too much time to do race practice, and I did do mainly qualifying practice. I say not really getting too much time to do race practice, but it was more the second stint once again, which I didn't really get time to do, and I just basically got a setup and then stuck with it, so I wasn't that confident heading into this, and I felt like my race pace was better than my qualifying pace. But you can see here that we're in currently P4, but the pace is looking really good. We're on course for another improvement, and I was in provisional pole in the first run, which I'm sure a lot of you would have seen on the leaderboard before. A couple of guys have just beaten it just now, but you can see approaching almost 3/10 up on our previous best time, and through the middle sector now, having a really good feeling with the setup around here. Love that corner there with a slight lift in 6th gear, and approaching this 90-degree right-hander 4th gear, we're now 3/10 up. Got a car in front which is not really going to distract us that much, and we're not really going to get any effect of the dirty air either. But these last two corners, they feel a bit clumsy really. I don't particularly like them, but staying in 4th gear around the final corner, opening DRS, and towards the line we go, and it's a 16.4, which was actually my online PB and actually my PB in general around this track. But yeah, despite the fact I haven't really done that much practice, we're pretty much straight on the pace, and like when I was on this game during the week I was doing the event, and other than that not really doing any at all. But you can see away we go now, getting decent launch, already going over to cover off Deagle, who I knew had pretty decent race pace because the practice that I did do, he was in the lobby as well, so I knew his race pace was pretty good. And you can see going around turn 1, we're slightly going to force him wide because I knew Tim Palm, who is Chicken, I knew his pace in the race wasn't as good as Deagle's, so I wanted Tim Palm to get in front, and that's what's basically happened. I'm not saying I deliberately forced him wide, but I kind of gave him the squeeze to kind of make him not brake but go off the throttle, so Tim Palm got through, and you can see already starting to extend the gap. And yeah, I knew that my wings as well were slightly higher than other people's. I was running 611 wings, so I knew that we've got to try and get away from the guys behind because they're probably going to be quicker in the straight. So pushing as hard as we can immediately, but once again I was feeling really good, and you can see already extending the gap to about 0.8 of a second already, and it's looking pretty comfortable for me at this particular moment. And I knew that the race pace, like I'm always stronger in the race than I am in qualifying, so I was feeling pretty confident of a win at this stage. And Synthetic was actually down in P11 on the grid, so if we can gain a huge amount of points in them today, that's going to be good for our championship. Despite the fact I think before this race I was 38 points behind after the win last time out at Silverstone, and after obviously Baku and China not going my way, it's like I've had to come back from quite a few points behind. And yeah, it's looking good so far in this race. And also I'll be missing the last race of the season, which I've said in one of my last videos. I think I've said that a couple of times now, but once again we're going to have to just maximise these races and just gain as many points as possible while Synthetic's having a bad day, because yeah, as I say, we need to get in front of him in the championship and then extend the lead to 25 points before the last round in order to get the second title, which is going to be definitely a tough task, and it's going to be easier said than done. But so far around here it's looking good that we can possibly take the win with him in the low part of the points, which will definitely make our fight for the championship a lot better really. And that made no sense at all what I just said, but anyway, 4.4 seconds up on our previous best. Obviously on lap 2 you're going to go purple here, but you can see the gap is 1.4 seconds to Tim Palm or Chicken. I don't really know why he changed his gamer tag. I think he just joined an esports team, VP or something. I'm not really too sure on who they are, but anyway, you can see crossing the line now at the end of lap 2 we set a 19.9, which was actually half a second quicker than my previous best in practice that I did, like the previous best second lap of the race, if that made sense. And the pace was looking really insane, and once again in the actual lobby I seem to be able to find pace compared to what I can do in practice. I don't know whether it's adrenaline or something, but I always seem to have quite a bit more pace, and even though he had frame rate problems in qualifying, etc., but you can see moving on to lap 13, we have a 7.3 or something like that, over 7 second gap to Tim Palmer, and that just shows the pace we've had in the first stint. And at this moment we've pretty much got the win in the bag. All I've got to do is just pit now. As you can see, going into the soft tyres, it's a simple one stop, and we just got to keep doing what we're doing really and keep putting in good laps, and it's looking good for us at this stage. But I was really surprised on how good the pace was, to be honest, because as I said, a lack of practice usually means that you're not going to be as quick, but maybe it is better to not really do that much practice, because the pace today is really insane. I didn't feel any pressure at all before this race, and you can see coming out of the pits behind Pasty now, and that's not going to help us at all. So I knew we got to try and get past him as quickly as possible. So heading around the right hander here towards turn number 4, you can see staying in standard. We've saved quite a bit of fuel here in the first stint. He misses the apex by quite a bit there, and now heading around this long right hander. We found a gap here, so we're going to go up the inside towards the chicane. He moves about in braking, but we're up the inside, 4th gear, and we get the job done on Jim Pasty there. And we're going to have a couple of other guys to catch who starting on the soft tyre, and they're obviously doing their first stint on the soft tyre. But yeah, hopefully we won't lose too much time with them. As now moving on to the end of lap 15 towards the start of lap 16. Crossing the line now to set a new personal best lap of the race there with a 19.8, which is a really good pace to have. And I know we can go quicker, but the 3 guys in front all started outside the top 10, so that's why they are on the harder compound. So they've extended their stint compared to what the top 10 have done. You can see Deagle in P5, he's probably still about 7 seconds behind us, so it's looking really good for us. And we're just about, well, we're just under half race distance at the moment, so going purple in sector 1, still setting some pretty good pace. We've got to try and clear the guys in front of us as quickly as possible, and I think we're going to stay on board for this lap here, which was my personal best lap of the race. So you can see taking the chicane in 4th gear, just staying very smooth around the middle sector here, no need to push too hard, especially with the gap we have. So taking the next corner, flat out right hander in 6th gear, staying in 6th gear for the right hander here, and you can see 2 tenths up. I don't think we're going to set the fastest lap of the race, but it's still going to be pretty good pace, and we don't need to risk anything on the fastest lap because that's just pointless really. But heading around the second to last corner, 4th gear, shifting up to 5th temporarily before going back down to 4th for the final corner, and you can see exiting the final corner, going onto the curb there a bit on the exit, and you can see we've set a 19.6, which is once again really good pace, and we have closed on to Alvaro Mazia by quite a bit. And I think someone pitted that lap, I think that was Synthetic actually, who started on the soft tyre, and he came out in I think about 8th place or something like that. So I do expect him to come forward and probably get in the top 5 towards the end of the race. But you can see now, moving on to lap 18, we've now caught Alvaro Mazia in front and getting right up to the back of him there and heading towards the final corner. He seems to take a very wide line, so we're going to go up the inside. He kind of closes the gap a bit there, but getting onto the power, opening DRS. Side by side down the pit straight. I think I was running slightly higher wings than him, but with the DRS we're going to easily make the move, and we're going to hold the inside line in case he wants to go for a switchback or anything. And we go up the inside, 3rd gear around turn 1, getting a slight bit of oversteer there on the traction. Well, actually that wasn't really oversteer, that was just poor traction. And Alvaro Mazia looks to the outside, but I don't think he really wanted to fight us too hard because we're on much fresher tyres than him, so there's not really any point for him to fight me in terms of his race as well. He won't want to lose too much time. We've now got Clay 2.3 seconds in front, and I should think these guys will probably be pitting quite soon from now. And you can see now moving on to lap 20, we've pretty much caught him up already, and going purple there through sector 1, slightly down on my previous best time, but heading round turn number 5 there, 4th gear, heading towards the chicane, looking to the inside. I wasn't going to go for a move there, that's really to just like put him off, and we seem to have put him off slightly there. But once again with Clay, there's no point fighting him really, and I don't think he'll put up too much of a fight there, so we slightly lose the rear on the exit of that corner now. 6th gear, the dirty air is starting to affect us as well, and you can see we're nowhere near our personal best time anymore, because obviously the dirty air does affect you quite a bit, and at this moment we're losing time to Deagle, but it's not really a massive issue when we have a massive gap like we do. And you can see Clay has gone into the pits now on lap 20, so that's freed us up, and we are in clear air pretty much from here to the end, so all you've got to do is just manage the gap and hold on to this win. And it looks easy, and to be honest it wasn't that difficult to do, but when you got Deagle, who's a very quick driver himself, and you've still got 14 laps to go, you just need to manage that gap, and you spend most of your time looking at the gap that you have behind, which, yeah, as I said, it looks easy, but yeah, it's quite difficult to do. But we managed it pretty well, and you'll see that we set a personal best, sector 1 there, and we were pushing very hard because I did want to try and get the, I think they call it the Grand Slam, if you get a pole position fastest lap in the race win. We haven't led every single lap obviously, but I was going to try and do that, but there's not really any point risking a crash or anything by going for a fastest lap. And you can see now, moving on to lap 35, nothing really happened at all. We continued to extend the gap to Deagle, and he got caught by my teammate Curly, and I think Synthetic managed to find his way up to P4, so an impressive drive once again from him to come back through the field. But we were in a very comfortable position, and I think this is probably the most dominating drive I've ever had in AOR, so it was definitely a good feeling. And also to do it in the dry, where many people have said I don't seem to win in the dry as much as I do in the wet, but you can see that today we have dominated, and that's what we needed to do for our championship. And heading around the final corner now to take the victory, and yeah, it wasn't the most enjoyable race to watch, I'm sure, but it was definitely just a good experience to dominate a race. And you can see taking the win there, weaving across the line to take a dominating win. And you'll see that Deagle is going to cross the line in P2, but he actually got beaten by Curly because he had a penalty, so Deagle drops down to P3, Synthetic in P4, and that, I believe, took our gap down to 25 points in the championship to Synthetic. So we started to close on him in the last 2 rounds, which is definitely good for the championship, but once again it is still going to be difficult with the fact I'm missing the last round and also exam revision for the next round in Belgium. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and leave a like if you have, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'm really hoping I can fight for the championship this year. The pace is looking definitely good enough to do so. It's just about not making any errors really, and you can see no penalties whatsoever for us, and I don't think I got a warning in this either, so definitely a good race for us, and that makes it 2 in a row in terms of victories. And you can see scrolling through the results there. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you for the next round, which is Belgium. So thank you very much, and goodbye.